Oh my goodness. I failed. Those were actually my exact words when I discovered that after a long semester of late nights and endless highlighting, I had failed anatomy. True story. Now, I know there are some students here today, and we've all been students at some point in our lives. Has anyone ever experienced that feeling before? Where you're waiting for your grades to be posted, and you're hoping that you passed, and then you finally see your grades, and you're like, oh, I failed. Well, that's pretty much exactly what happened to me. And I was actually really devastated when I found out that I had failed. I even considered giving up and dropping out because anatomy was just so hard. And it wasn't just regular hard. It was a different type of hard that I hadn't yet encountered. I couldn't just pull an all-nighter and cram my way to an A, which I may have done for some other courses. For this course, I had to learn all this new terminology and actually understand the material according to my very wise instructor. And there was just so much to learn. And I had a lot going on in my life at the time, as most students do. Relationship problems, money issues, life, stuff. Juggling all those issues made understanding anatomy and life all that more difficult. But as difficult as it was, I stuck it out. And I'm happy to report that I passed anatomy the second time around with flying colors. I went on to, oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. I went on to complete my education, and here I am today, a learning strategist, which means I now teach students how to study for a living. Yes, that's right. A lot of the stuff I know now would have come in really handy back then. Today, I work right here at Centennial College, where I have the pleasure of working with many students, including students who are taking anatomy. Now, many of these students come to see me to tell me all about how anatomy is just so hard for them. And the typical anatomy students I see will often say things like, I honestly don't know how I'm going to pass this course. And one student even said, Joanne, I think I need a miracle because it is physically painful for me to read my anatomy textbook. And I tell them, I get it. I feel your pain. I've been there. But every now and then, I would come across a few students with a totally different narrative. Rare anatomy students who may actually be doing well in the course, some who excel in the course, some who even enjoy it. I wondered why these students in particular, who were also likely juggling relationship problems and money issues and life stuff, I wondered why they were able to be so successful while so many other students seemed to be struggling. So I decided to learn more about their habits. And while they all shared many of the ideal student habits, such as doing their readings before class or actually going to class, I noticed that there was one interesting thing they all had in common. They exercised regularly. That got me thinking. I wondered if it was the exercise that was helping them to be so resilient. Now, I was already well aware of the many benefits of exercise on the brain, how it can increase your focus and your ability to sustain attention, increase your energy and motivation, and also improve your short and long-term memory. There's actually research to prove this. In a 2007 study by Kopman and co-authors entitled Exercise Builds Brain Health, researchers found that moderate aerobic exercise caused an increase in many areas, including neural pathways, literally increasing the size of your brain and resulting in your brain being better able to retain and recall information. So what this basically means is that exercise can help students improve their ability to learn. Amazing. I also recalled that many of our students are very stressed out, and it's quite common for them to struggle with mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. But there have been countless studies on the benefits of mental health for exercise, many finding that exercise can enhance treatment or even be just as effective as some medication. Exercise can actually help to reorganize the brain to be more resilient to stress, which can lead to increased perseverance and the ability to stick it out, ultimately resulting in better grades. So amazing. I then thought about how exercise had enhanced my own life. Many times, I'd felt that if my life were a test, I might be at risk for failing that too, because I often felt overwhelmed with competing priorities, overflowing laundry baskets, never-ending to-do lists, always feeling tired. But when I started exercising more regularly, positive changes started to occur. I slept better, so I had more energy, and I got more done. I was also in a better mood. I was even able to say, "Yes, bud," with the exact same level of patience when my son said, "Mommy," for the 100th time in an evening.
Mommy, mommy, mommy,
Yeah.
mommy, 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 mommy,
Yeah.
mommy, mommy.
I'm not lying, that's a typical evening at our house. With regular exercise, I was also more focused and productive at work, and more vibrant and enthusiastic when I met with students. I fell so in love with exercise that I even became a certified fitness instructor, which then led to a chance to do a TEDx talk, which is really a dream come true. Exercise caused this positive ripple effect in my life, and I really, really wanted to make it a regular habit. And even though I personally experienced all of these positive benefits, I sometimes still had difficulty finding the time. And that made me think of the struggling students who came to see me. Most of them already had difficulty managing their time between their courses, their jobs, their families. This is an actual study schedule that I created with one student. The white spaces are supposed to represent the free time. There's no free time. They hardly found the time to come to the study groups we created for them, let alone exercise. But that's when it hit me. If exercise can help students to learn better and increase their resiliency, then what if I created a study group that was a fitness class so they could get more exercise? A fitness class where they reviewed the anatomy and physiology of their body as they exercised it. Brilliant. It would be like a 2-for-1 deal, where students could work on learning their anatomy while they worked out their body, where they could learn and burn calories. They could move to improve their grades. Oh, I was so excited about this idea of a study group/fitness class. I basically talked about it to almost every single person I knew and maybe some random strangers. And I decided to call it Anatomy Boot Camp, ABC, the first 3 letters of the alphabet and the first steps that students can take to achieve academic, mental, and physical success. I opened it to any student taking the course, and my mission was to help students to make a deeper and more meaningful connection to the information they were learning. Anatomy Bootcamp would help students to review their course content while reaping the brain-boosting benefits of exercise. I enlisted the help of some awesome anatomy tutors, and we created an exercise program that closely followed the course outline. So each week, we would review the same concepts that were covered in class, and then we'd reinforce those concepts through the exercises. So now I want to give you all a taste of an actual anatomy boot camp class where we reviewed the anatomy and physiology of the shoulder joint. But before we get into it, I first want to give you a small taste of what an actual anatomy student might go through when trying to learn about the shoulder joint themselves. So what would likely happen is that they would refer to their textbook or their notes, and they would try to read something like this. So do you now understand why I failed? Okay, so we're going to do a warm-up activity that we did in the Anatomy Bootcamp class, and I invite you to participate if you're able to, okay? So everybody remain seated. I want you to just raise your arms up to shoulder level and down. Raise them up and down. Good. So who can tell me what is the name of the joint that we're exercising right now? The shoulder joint, that's right. Actually, the correct terminology is the glenohumeral joint because it's the joint that connects the glenoid cavity of your scapula, which is your shoulder blade, to the long bone in your arm, which is your humerus, okay? So who can tell me what type of joint is the glenohumeral joint? It's a ball and socket joint. Very good. So because it's a ball and socket joint, that means the spherical head of your humerus connects to the round socket of your scapula, like a ball and socket. And because it's a ball and socket joint, it allows for movement in all axes. So fun fact, this is actually the most mobile joint in your entire body. Okay, so don't stop yet. So you may be beginning to notice a burning sensation right about now, right? So what that is when the muscles are contracting and relaxing, they're releasing metabolites, which are substances formed in metabolism. So things like sodium, potassium, ADP, and lactic acid are releasing to cause that burning sensation, which is probably making you want to stop so you can stop. But I hope you are all paying attention because there will be a test on this in the end. Just kidding. So not all weeks were this easy for us to make such a natural connection between the exercises and the movements and the content. Some weeks were a little more challenging and forced us to be a little creative and think outside the box, like the week on the digestive system. I had the students pretend to be actual pieces of food and visit each of the stops down the alimentary canal, which is the pathway your food takes during the digestive process. It was so funny to see the students pretending to slide down the esophagus and be churned around in the stomach and intestines. And things got really interesting as we got near the end. Yeah. But the students loved it. They laughed a lot and they learned a lot. And the classes often ended up being quite facilitative as well. The students answered each other's questions, helped each other out, and cheered each other on. There's definitely an added bonus to exercising in a group. The social element can greatly enhance the learning that takes place. And there's research to prove this as well. In a 2012 study by Thomas and co-authors called The Effects of Aerobic Exercise on Brain Structure, researchers found that rats who exercised in enriched environments, which included exercising with other rats, reaped more benefits compared to those who exercised alone, such as the formation of new neurons. And what's so great is that these benefits, some of them continued even after they were finished exercising, which is amazing. And I'm not comparing students to rats, by the way. I just love that the research supports what I was hoping to see in my classes. And if the students were able to come to the classes, maybe for 1 hour, anatomy didn't seem so hard. And maybe they didn't think as much about their relationship issues and their money problems and the life stuff that they were juggling. Because even though it isn't easy being a student, they realized that exercise helped them feel better. And it helped them learn better too. And even if students couldn't make it to anatomy boot camp, I still encourage them to try to incorporate more exercise into their life. One student I met with last semester named Brittany came to see me, and she was completely overwhelmed and exhausted. She was working full-time while studying, and to be honest, she was barely getting by. I taught her several study strategies, and I talked to her about the importance of taking care of herself so that she could optimize her brain for learning. She made some adjustments, and she was able to fit in a few trips to the gym per week. And it really made a huge difference for her. She persevered and was able to stick it out and successfully complete her courses. And when she found out that she passed anatomy, I swear she sent me like 10 thank you emails. But I was really happy for her, and I still feel so proud every single time I see her at the gym. It's really been an amazing experience being a learning strategist and getting the chance to help students to be more successful in their studies. It's incredibly rewarding, and I'm always trying to think of fun and creative ways to support students and to help them thrive. Anatomy boot camp was just a cool idea I had, and although it's caused me to have to go back and review my anatomy knowledge yet again, as a learning strategist, I'm always happy to continue learning myself. In the meantime, I will continue to encourage all students to be more active, and I try to encourage everyone in my life, really, my family, my friends, my coworkers. And I do this because I've seen firsthand how exercise can help people to improve mentally, physically, academically, holistically. And I get it. It's not always easy trying to find the time in the midst of our busy lives. Many of us don't have a lot of white spaces in our schedules. But we can continue to think of creative ways, of other 2-for-1 deals like Anatomy Bootcamp, to somehow try to reverse the trend of inactivity and increase our probability of resiliency. And sometimes it's just a matter of taking advantage of opportunities to do things like take the stairs instead of the elevator, to park in that far parking spot, to take a walk during your study break, or to just get up and walk while you're watching your favorite TED Talk. As long as we're finding a way to be more active. And I'm happy because I'm starting to see things like standing desks and walking meetings and work week hustle Fitbit challenges on the rise, because maybe that means that people are starting to understand that exercise really is one of the powerful tools that can pave the way toward wellness. Because I truly believe that for students and for anyone really, it can definitely be a key ingredient in the resilience recipe. I know it was for me. And it was for Brittany too. And I know it can be for you. And for my students, my hope is that something like Anatomy Bootcamp can encourage you to incorporate more exercise into your life so that you too can experience the enhanced benefits of the positive ripple effect it can cause for you, including passing challenging courses like anatomy the first time. My hope is that more students will be able to say, "Oh my goodness, I passed!" Thank you.